Okay, you ready? Oh, my new gavel here. Call the meeting, July meeting of the West Dakota Water Development District to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone can stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could remain standing, we'll have a word from invocation from Mr. Violana.
Lord, thank you for this day. Can you please help us with the water we have? Some people have too much water. Some people have poisoned water. And some people have sewer water. What we really need some right now is a little bit of help from it. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Before we get started here, if you haven't signed in, we do have a sign-up sheet over there. We'd like to have you sign in so we know who's here. Do you see it? Okay. The next item is the roll call. Please, Ken.
Holt?
Yes.
Yerke?
Here.
Driscoll? Here. Jovic?
Here.
Wallinger?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Mack?
Here.
Violata?
Here.
Harris? No absentees, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next item is approval of the agenda for the evening.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. Discussion. Everybody have a chance to look at the agenda? Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5, conflict of interest. Are there any items on the agenda that members of the board would have a conflict of interest this evening? Mr. Violata.
Number 15.
There's a conflict of interest on number 15.
For myself.
Oh, for yourself. Okay, so noted. Anyone else?
Down here, number 12, definitely. Number 11, USGS has worked some with Ellsworth Air Force Base. I don't know if there'll be a conflict or not there. I really can't see we're voting on anything. I guess regarding the budget items, number 16, I see USGS is included as a budget item. Whether or not that excludes the remains to be seen, I guess.
Okay.
Be aware of it.
So noted. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Next item is the approval of minutes from actually the last two meetings. The first one is May 14th.
I'll move to approve for item A. Are we doing them one at a time?
Yes.
I'll move to approve
Second.
for May 14.
Okay, May 14th. Motion and a second to approve the minutes from the May 14th meeting. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Is there discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
could I just ask, could we get a definition for swarms that included into the...
Oh, that acronym?
Yeah, the acronym.
I knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have the actual name of that acronym?
No, I don't remember.
How about you, Dan? You're familiar with it.
It is State Water, that's WA, Resources Management System.
Thank you.
Or something very close to that.
So do we want to amend the minutes, or?
That's what I'm asking, if you approve, because later
People
on,
don't know
people
what it
might
is.
not know what that actually means.
Okay, we can amend it.
Okay, thanks.
So I guess it's okay with the motion maker in a second if we can
Fine
approve
with
the
me.
minutes based on, as amended, on the swarms acronym.
All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The minutes of May 14th approved. And the next one is the approval of minutes for the June 11th meeting. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Steve. Is there a second?
I have an amendment. Said there was no public comment.
Just a second. Is there, before we go to discussion?
I'll
is there a
second.
Okay, there's a second by Dan. Okay, James.
A correction, you said there was no public comment.
Are you saying there was
Yeah, I
public
got
comment?
up and spoke for public comment.
Okay.
That is for, I will.
Regarding the flooding in Knollwood Heights and all over Rapid, the sewer backups that would be coming to this meeting this time.
Okay, should we add
Well,
that?
that was later, so this was an agenda item for public comment.
Yeah, we-
Yeah.
Right, but I did
Give
speak
it
on
at
the
this
public
time.
comment.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, that is what you're talking.
Yeah, because it wasn't an agenda item.
Okay,
Oh, my mistake.
so I guess, I mean, it would be on the recording. Could we add the comments to the minutes at a later time?
Yeah, I can go back.
Just a blurb, at least, saying that I spoke regarding the sewer backup issues
Sure.
we're having in Rapid City that we'd be presenting at the next board.
Okay,
So that was not under director, that was.
No, it was under public comment.
we added item 5A, I think it was, at that meeting for public comment, and he's correct. It was, so if you could add that, I guess, make a note to add it, and then we can move forward with the approval. Any others?
Move as agended, as James had asked.
Okay, move to amend the minutes as
Sure.
as Mr. Byler said, seconded by Dan. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thank you for pointing that out.
If you could note that I'm abstaining, I wasn't there.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So noted. Item number 7 is the treasurer's report. Dan, you prepared?
Yes.
There it is.
So we have funds on hand, about 508,000 in our checking and savings account. Admin budget year spent today, 38,000. Water price, 49,000. So total expenditures this year have been about 85,000. If we look over on the right side, that's the budget. So we haven't spent anywhere near what we have budgeted, which is 316,000. So remaining in the budget is 319,000. Primarily because we haven't funded the DNA studies.
Okay.
Are there any questions there?
Any questions from the board members on the treasurer's report?
And just an update on projects. Our unpaid obligations are about 28,000 to date on all of our projects. We just got invoiced for the last Canyon Lake Sanford, so this is out of date, so that when I point to here is actually zero now, balance due. So we're actually a little bit less than, almost $4,000 less on this bottom line here. Any questions?
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Steve moved to approve the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bob. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 8, renewal of the garage office annual contract. Dr. Dan, that's coming up. Same, I guess you can
It's the
speak to
same,
that.
yeah, it's the same deal, $400 a month. I recommend that we renew. We have the ability to use that facility for meetings if we need to.
Move to renew.
Moved by Steve to renew, seconded by James. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9, request change to extend schedule on School of Mines Missouri River's water allocation project. Nathan?
Yeah, I guess this project was scheduled to be completed already, I believe. The primary person from the School of Mines that was going to be involved, Dr. Lissenby, passed away during the project. School has come forward through Dr. Katzenstein to request a timeline extension. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. I think, given the circumstances, and also I don't think this is a time is of the essence issue anyway. I think this, if we ever do move forward on a project like this, we're looking at a decade or two probably before anything would go anyway. So from my perspective, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Moved by James, is there a second? Seconded by Bob. Is this agreement then needs to be signed by myself if we approve it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they
any-
signed it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Who seconded?
Bob.
Bob.
Bob Williams.
Thank you.
Okay, that was item number 9. Item number 10, select West Dakota Water Development District Legal General Counsel. RFP response for legal services received from Mr. Nas. Ron, do you want to handle that?
Okay. Just to refresh everyone's memory briefly, in May, we solicited via RFP for on-call legal services for the board. That advertisement was placed in the, through the South Dakota Bar, as well as in our 3 official newspapers. It was advertised through the month of June and received an RFP from Mr. Matt Nas from Gunderson Palmer Nelson. That information and his credentials are in the packet on page 19, beginning 19 and going through 21. And for the purposes of staying with our Robert's Rules of Order, I'd move approval of selection of Mr. Nas as our on-call attorney, and then ask him to make some remarks during the discussion period.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom.
And Mr. Nas is here.
Yes, you're here. Come on up
Thank you,
and
Mr. Chairman.
introduce yourself.
Matt Nas, I'm an associate attorney at Gunderson Palmer Nelson Ashmore here in town. I've been with the firm a year and a half this time. I was with the South Dakota Attorney General's office for about 4 years, 5 years actually prior to that. South Dakota Supreme Court for a few years, and I started my legal practice here at Gunderson Palmer 2006. While at the Attorney General's office, you can probably see from the resume, I represented the Water Management Board, sat with them for about 3 years, worked with some other state agencies, including the Department of Revenue, some other DE&R agencies, the Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation Program, among others. I'll just briefly share a little anecdote. When I was sitting in my office at the Attorney General's office one day, Roxanne Deeb came in and she said, I think I'm going to change your life. And I kind of thought she was kidding, but she asked me to learn water law and to work with the Water Management Board, and that was actually a life-changing moment for me. I very much enjoy water. I enjoy the water law. I enjoyed working with the board as well as the staff at South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and I would really enjoy an opportunity to get to work with the West Dakota Development District, Water Development District. I'm sure to be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Is it possible you could just hang around till item number 15 gets completed? I might have a question for you.
It's an interesting question. I'm not trying to punt here, but as of right right now there wouldn't be any attorney-client relationship as I think the proposal is pending. I can certainly stick around and offer you my opinion as a member of the public, but as far as the counsel for the board, that may be putting the cart before the horse at this meeting. If that's,
I think as soon as we vote, if we vote yay,
if you vote yay, I think that to accept the proposal as provided, I think I could stick around and do that.
Mr. Chairman? I just have one question for you. You know, I'm impressed with your credentials with the Water Board and your past history with, you know, Assistant Attorney Generals. Just one thing I had another question on. We didn't emphasize it maybe enough, but one of the things that we'd probably be asking for on an occasional basis is assistance with some just general contract language as we, you know, work with entities, you know, through grants or, you know, cost shares or whatever. And that's an area where we may need some assistance. Is that something you're comfortable with?
It is, and I think I put it in the cover letter, and if I didn't, I meant to. One of the things that I did was working with the DCI, the Division of Criminal Investigation, and I didn't do any of the criminal stuff that they were involved in, but I was their contract attorney. So when they had contracts that they needed reviewed or drafted, whether they were for instructors, or one of the big ones I worked on was actually through Zerker Technologies, which does their information and their IT stuff. And so I worked with those contracts and those individuals, and since I've been back at Gunderson Palmer, I've continued to work with contractual issues, whether they're real estate transactions or other types of business transactions. So I do think I would be comfortable in that area.
Okay, thanks. Just to reiterate.
Yeah, thank you. If I missed it, I'm sorry about that.
Nathan?
I've got a couple of questions. How many meetings have you been to of West Dakota Water Development?
0.
Okay. Another question is, what kinds of conflicts of interest would you guess that you might have with issues that we might raise?
Well, I think there need to be identified on a case-by-case basis. Right now, I can tell you that I represent no one within the west of the Cheyenne River in Pennington County regarding any water use issues. That said, obviously, those issues would need to be addressed on a case-by-case basis moving forward.
Follow-up question?
Yeah, I've got one other question. Open meeting law.
Right.
How familiar are you with that?
Well, quite familiar. I worked at the Water Management Board, and obviously they had open meetings concerns. In fact, Mr. Farabee, who's here this evening, at one time challenged an action done by the Water Management Board when I was their counsel, and we went to the Open Meetings Commission. I wasn't with the Water Management Board when the Open Meetings Commission finally made their decision, but they decided that the issue that had been raised, which was an executive session issue, was they decided that the Water Management Board did not air when it went into executive session at that time.
Who decided that?
The Open Meetings Commission.
Good. Thank you.
Bob, did you have a question too?
I was just going to ask, probably it would be similar to what Nathan was asking. Is there going to be any, can you tell me why one state board cannot ask another state board for clarification of a law? And
Yeah,
then
I
expect,
think I know the issue that you're getting to, and I would have to go back and re-examine the Water Management
Okay.
Board's decision in that. If memory serves, it was a preemption issue, an issue of preemption. That said, I would not want to provide a legal opinion on that as I stand here without knowing the full detail.
one of the things I'd ask is, would you have to have the entire board approve to have you look into something like that? Or would it be a majority vote? What would have to, before we can hire you for any particular issue, right?
My understanding would be, as a representative of the board, I would be responsible for either defending or investigating or assisting with actions that were authorized by the board. So I assume that that is a majority of the quorum present at a board meeting.
I have one more, and that would be, members of the public have asked me, let's see, I should have written it down. I had, excuse me. get a little excited at this sort of thing. No. Oh, well. I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to take this long.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Knott? We have a motion on the floor.
Just
Oh,
one.
okay,
Just one.
James.
Did you have any conflicts of interest with the city of Rapid City?
I believe our firm has represented or does represent the city of Rapid City on workers' compensation issues. And so before I say yes or no, I would need to flesh that out for sure. If the district would be adverse to the city, I would want to flesh that out before I comment one way or the other. I certainly haven't worked on any issues with the city, but there may be attorneys in the firm who have, and conflicts are determined at times on a firm-wide basis. They're imputed to the members of the firm.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I did.
Okay, well.
Thanks
you
for
remember-
giving me a brief second to think of this. There have been some threats to members of the board, either implied or direct. Can we, when we take a vote as a board, can we actually be prosecuted for our vote?
That's a very good question. I think it would. I don't believe so. I think it would depend on the vote. I think before answering that, I would want to know the nature of the vote in the context of the challenge. Whether it's if it's an ultra vires action, I mean, outside of the authority of the board. My initial reaction is that whatever recourse one would have to challenge that activity would be to determine that the activity was null and void, rather than to seek prosecution against the individual board members. That said, again, I would want to have an opportunity to evaluate this.
On October 28th of last year, in the Rapid City Journal on the front page, an individual who used to be an admin person for this board said that we should be prosecuted for our vote. And if you want, we can look into that. But all I want to know is, when threats like that, implied or otherwise, I mean, what could she do? She had to call the police, probably, and then have one of us arrested or all of us arrested that voted in one direction or the other. So
Only if it was a criminal act.
Certainly, and
what I'm trying to get at is just what the bylaw said was that we are not engaged in criminal acts when we vote against, issues on one side or the other.
And I think certainly I would tend to agree with you. I didn't know. I'm aware of the issue as well. I believe the threat or the allegation that there was criminal activity afoot, coming from a member of the public, certainly is not the same as if it came from someone who was spoke with the authority of a prosecutor, like a state's attorney. And those are the individuals charged with making prosecutorial decisions rather than a member of the public. I guess my initial thought would be to treat that comment as give it the.
But that would be a legitimate question we could come to you with, and would we begin charging on that? Would it take a majority vote of the board to have you look into it?
I think it would, because you would be expending board funds to have me look into the issue, and while I certainly do that and provide my opinion, I would want the board to authorize my expenditure prior to looking into that and offering that.
Thank you.
Yes,
I guess I'd have
Go ahead.
a follow-up to that, since it came up. So, does the Rapid City Journal have any liability toward those of us that were compromised by that? By impugning our character, suggesting that we were committing criminal acts by sitting on the board and simply taking votes?
Again, and I'm not trying to punt here, but you're talking about issues of libel and slander, and those liability issues are, while present and viable causes of action are difficult causes of action to prove and to prove damages for. I can't say one way or the other whether there is liability or there isn't.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the question.
Okay, the question's been called. All in favor?
Can we take a roll call vote?
Yeah, we can.
I was going to have a suggestion for the board.
He called, the question's been called, so, all in favor of calling the question, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried, so I guess, we'll go ahead and vote on the motions on the floor to have you represent us as attorney. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Nay.
Roll call, please.
Okay, for number 10, roll call vote. Harris,
Aye.
Bialotta,
No, only because I didn't get to ask the board a question.
Mack,
Aye.
Williams,
No.
Rollinger,
Aye.
Jovic,
I'm going to vote no. I think your resume is impressive, but I don't feel comfortable. I think you're going to have too many conflicts. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to assist us, so nay.
Driscoll,
Aye.
Yerke,
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-3.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Matt, for coming. We look forward to working with you if we need you.
Yes, and I look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, could I take 1 minute to set my software here?
Sure.
Something strange is going on.
Okay. I don't